Good evening, Tacoma Park, and welcome to the Board of Elections certified presentation of election results. I'm Regina Reese, and the results are in. Let's watch.
I call this meeting of the Tacoma Park City Council to order. I don't have any agenda in front of me. Are we calling a roll, or are we just going to the report? Okay, then we're going to get the results from the election, and we certify them, or you certify them?
We certify them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, the city clerk certifies them.
City clerk? Who certifies?
The Board of Elections.
Okay. So the Board of Elections is here to report on the elections which you have now certified.
Yes, we have now certified them.
And we welcome Ann Sargent, who's the Chief Election Judge.
Good evening, everybody. I do have the election results, and I first want to say that the election went very smoothly this year. I mean, there were always a few glitches, but on the whole, it went really well. We instituted some process improvements since last year, and they worked well, at least as well as we expected, so I'm really happy about that. I'm also really happy about the great team of judges that we had this year. It was a fabulous staff. There were no slackers, and there were plenty of above and beyond people, so I'm just really grateful to work with that fabulous crowd of people. So I'll get right to the results, since I'm sure everybody's panting to hear them. The mayoral race is the last page in here? Okay. Mayoral race is 1,663 votes for Bruce Williams, 92 votes for assorted write-ins. Many, many different names among those write-ins. And the total, I don't have the total votes for that. Ward 1, 247 votes for Seth Grimes, 9 votes for various write-ins, and the total number of votes was 270. Ward 2, 334 votes for Lloyd Charkoudian. 351 votes for Timothy Mayo, and 1 write-in, and that's out of 690 voters total in that ward. Ward 3 is 290 votes for Kay Daniels Cohen, 90 votes for Mike Grawl, 67 votes for Jeffrey Noel Nussbaum, and 3 assorted write-ins. Total number of votes, 459. Ward 4, 195 votes for Terry Siemens, 4 votes for Eric Mendoza, who was pre-registered as a write-in candidate, and 2 votes for other write-ins. Total votes, 211. Ward 5, 75 votes for Reuben Snipper, 1 write-in. Total number of votes, 78. Ward 6, 111 votes for Barry Howard, 134 votes for Fred Schultz, no write-ins. Total number of votes, 249. And just in case you're quickly tallying the results in your head, you might notice that some totals are higher than the number of votes that I reported. Some people voted for no one, and that still counts as a vote. So, for instance, in the Ward 5 race, there were 75 votes for Reuben Snipper, 1 write-in, and the total was 78. So 2 people voted for nobody or forgot to vote, or that explains the discrepancies in the totals.
And they voted for no one for either office, or they voted for no one for that office, but they might have voted for, in that case, mayor?
I only know the Reuben Snipper total. I only know the per-race total. I don't have the ward totals for both of the races together. Sorry.
Okay.
So again, I want to thank the great team we had of election judges, and also I want to thank Jesse Carpenter and Irma Andia, because they just made everything happen. They're the people who did all the logistics, made sure we had all the supplies, made sure to remind us to get the stuff done, and I'm really grateful to work with such a great group of people. Thanks.
Were there any issues that caused heartburn or delay? My sense was you were working a good bit today to get everything done.
We were working a great bit of today to get everything done. There were provisional ballots that we had to resolve, and that was pretty straightforward, actually. All of the provisional ballots were resolved one way or another. They were either accepted or rejected. And we did that with, we did research here, and then the county helped us with our research. So all of those ballots were resolved and scanned along with the rest of them. There were absentee ballots and early voting ballots to scan and get counted. And then the other thing was the computer can't read all ballots. Some of them, the marks are unclear to the computer, and if there's a write-in, the computer can only tell us that there's a write-in. So that's when we humans come in and we use our eyes to decide what the voter wrote in the block there. So, and sometimes names get misspelled, so we have to make, like, there were a number of votes for Cindy Terrell or Cynthia Terrell. So we know that Cindy Terrell and Cynthia Terrell are probably the same person, and that there might be more than one way to spell Terrell. And we know to lump those together, but the computer can't know that. So things like that. One ballot, provisional ballot, was accidentally cast through the scanner, and it was not valid, but we found it. We went through the ballots, and we found it, and it was not valid, so we didn't count it. It was an adventure today. But we're done. It's good.
And you're happy with the system?
Yes, I am really confident in the results. Because every ballot that was questionable, we looked at and we could decide. There was no case of, I'm really not sure what they meant. It was clear.
There were no hanging chads?
No hanging chads.
Any other questions from the council? Councilmember Wright.
Is it possible that some of those no votes are actually, could they also be double votes, meaning someone filled out the ballot incorrectly, so you couldn't count it, meaning they voted for, filled in two of the bubbles?
Yes, if somebody makes more than one first choice, or more than one choice in a column, that is invalid. Because you can't have two first choices.
Right. So those could be mistake ballots as opposed to no vote ballots.
They could be mistakes. They could be intentional. We can't read minds, but.
And is there in the city charter, is there anything that automatically triggers a recount? Is there a margin?
There is not. It's something that, no, there's no requirement to do that.
And there's no process for somebody to request a recount?
I think if
I'm
someone...
not saying someone that would, I'm
Right,
just curious in
right.
this.
I would think that if a recount were requested, it would be, would be done.
Thank you.
Could I add something? The reason we have instant runoff voting is to avoid having recounts. So we not only have everybody's first choice vote, but we have their second choice vote. So, for instance, if candidates A and B are neck and neck, and candidate C is far behind, it's clear that that person is not going to win. So the second choices for that person are transferred to the other candidates, whatever they are. And
Yeah, but
that's
not the purpose of a recount. That's the purpose of a runoff.
Right, that's a runoff.
Right. A recount would be someone that's so close that they have a question, say they lose by, a percentage of less than a full percent, and they're concerned, and they want the ballots actually looked at again. They want a recount, really. They want to make sure the tabulation was done correctly and there wasn't some error that affected the election.
Other questions? Did you have a comment? I see your light lit and your light lit, so.
I just, I don't know when the appropriate time is, but I just had a few comments to make. So I don't know if the appropriate time is now or later.
Councilmember Snipper.
Are you going to provide a more detailed list of who the write-ins are and so on?
We have the list. We just didn't bring it right now because in some cases for some races it's short, for the mayoral race it's long.
Right.
Including the usual assortment of cartoon characters. All of the races, I think, have the usual assortment of cartoon characters. Because people feel the need to say something else, I guess. I don't know.
And can you just say a few words about the early voting process? My sense was that a number of people were surprised that there was an early voting process. Happy, but felt like they didn't know.
I heard people say that, too, on Election Day, and they said, gee, more people should know about it. I would have done this if I'd have known. And we did have it in the city newsletter. And we had the total of early voting and absentee voting together. I don't know the breakdown, but they were about equal. There were 186 people who voted ahead of time, either by absentee or by early voting. And That's great. It saves them having to stand in line. And there are ways, I'm sure we can identify ways we could publicize that better next year.
That's 106, did you say?
186.
And that included both the absentee process and the ability for like a week beforehand to come in, including on Saturday, and
Yes.
vote in the building.
We had early voting dates on November 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 7th.
Councilmember Siemens.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you and the entire election board. I think it was an excellent election. As you said, I didn't hear many complaints about the process yesterday. The lines seemed to stay fairly short for most of the day. It was a great voter turnout as compared to past elections. We'd still like to see a much higher percentage of the registered voters come and vote, and we'd like to see a much higher percentage of the residents of the city get registered and participate in the process. But overall, I think this was a great job, and I appreciate your time and time of the rest of the Board of Elections and all the workers, the volunteers that helped run things yesterday. I look forward to a further discussion at a later date of how we can make things better for next election. Thank you.
Councilmember Schultz.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Do we know the percentage of registered voters that voted?
We do. I don't have it on my sheet right here. Jesse might have it.
I don't, and that's because I simply ran out of time. I have the 1958 was the number of voters who voted.
Oh, 1958.
1958. So you
that's
can
up.
do the calculation. I just ran out of time. It's better than 2 years ago.
It's approaching 20%, but it's
Yes.
under.
But just under. So. And I have to say, I was looking for 2,000 voters, and we almost got there. Yeah.
I'll just say that I was impressed by the integrity of the process, the smoothness, the calmness of the judges and all the people that were handling the process. Passed through a couple times on the way to the restroom and things like that, and it gave me a feeling of confidence that the people who are in charge really do know what they're doing in this process, and that it was a totally legitimate exercise. And we may all take that for granted, but it needs to be said, I think, because it's such an important process. And the candidates, all of us, spend so many hours trying so hard to get elected, and to have that capped off with the integrity of the process going on voting day is very, very reassuring. So I thank all the people that were involved in setting it up and conducting it, and then doing all the counting. I know it was not easy, and many, many tired people were the result. Thanks.
And I want to make sure that we thank all of the members of the Board of Elections, and I know a number of you are here. Did you want to?
Yes, I'd like to introduce the people who are here. They're all in one row over there. April Kissel is on the far right as we're looking from the stage. Jose Zambrana next to her. Bill Lawson, Jim Roberts, and Marilyn Abbott. And they're just a part of the team. A number of people weren't, maybe they're sleeping it off or something. But we really have an outstanding group, both in the Board of Elections and the group of election judges. I also, am I missing anybody that's maybe sitting in another row?
The city clerk.
Oh, I thanked them profusely. The other people I forgot to thank are the SCAN Integrity people. Their system is, since last year, they've made some improvements at our request, and it works better than ever. And they also developed something that as far as I know, exists nowhere else, where a person can vote by audio. There's a touchpad that's familiar to people with visual impairments with the numbers on it, and it's sort of like a voicemail system where you put on the headphones and it's press 1 for this and press 2 for that. You can raise and lower the volume. You can speed up or slow down the pace, and you get to pick your voters by entering the numbers. And then it prints a ballot that you can scan just like everybody else. And that's totally new, and that was developed by some members of the Scantegrity team. And then there's the regular computer system and how the results are presented, and they've made improvements this year as well.
And I will say that I did have feedback on that system for the blind.
Oh, you did?
And it was,
Good.
and they were very, very appreciative of it.
Good.
Felt that it worked very well, didn't even need any help to vote, they said. So they were,
That is exactly what everybody was looking for, so it's really nice to hear
Yes.
that, Terry. Thank you. I will forward that information along.
Okay, so thank you very much. Thank you to all the people who worked to make this election happen. Thank you to everybody who voted. Thank you to everybody who ran. Oh, you want to say something, that's right. Yes, it's too late. Go ahead.
Well, I wanted to highlight a few things in the notes that you see in the front of your report. That wanted to talk a little bit about the e-poll books. There was, once again this year, we used the same poll books that the state of Maryland uses for elections, and they really help to speed the process, and it's very worthwhile to use them. There was a change this year in how they were configured, because they're now configured for early voting in the county elections. And the night before the election, the Board of Elections entered into the e-poll books the absentee and early, just the checked in all the absentee and early voters. So we sat down and went through the list and added all them to the poll book so they couldn't vote twice. So they all would show up as having voted already. When we closed the poll books, it zeroed out the count. And so at the end of election night, the count was apparently almost 200 votes off. It's like there were, and that caused some confusion on the part of the board and some hesitation about reporting results. And I wanted to say that was, we got the scanner report result fairly quickly after we had scanned the absentee and early voting ballots. And just more time, election judges are perfectionists, and they want to make sure everything is perfect. And really needed a bit more time, especially with the Ward 2 race, which was just heartbreakingly close, I'm sure, for both candidates, and really wanted to be sure that everything was right. And when we initially saw this huge discrepancy, it definitely raised some eyebrows. So early this morning, that got cleared up very quickly. We made a call to the Board of Elections to clarify the process, and I think it was just human error in not understanding what had happened there. So I did want to explain what went on with that, and that was really a cause for the delay and the confusion about the results. And I think late this morning or earlier this afternoon, I put out to the candidates, and I think Craig posted for us what essentially were the results from last night that we had, those preliminary unofficial results. And then today, the board, as Ann said, spent really, they were here since 10 o'clock this morning, making sure everything was perfect, that every vote was counted, and every valid vote was counted, and spent a lot of time and counted and recounted just looked through every piece of paper to make sure that everything was just right. And so I just wanted you to know so it all caused some delay. And frankly, our system of certifying results in 24 hours or less, it's challenging. It's a challenge to, it's a challenge to get everything perfect in 24 hours. Especially, not especially, but we've expanded some of the things we do with the early voting, no-fault absentee voting. We're getting more and more absentee voters. And there's a lot to do, a lot to pull together and make everything just right. So I wanted to let you know that and give some explanation for the delay, and I really regret that I know it caused definitely some confusion on the part of the candidates and their supporters, and we definitely regret that. Let's see, what else do I want to say? I wanted to note, to say something about early voting. We had a good early voting turnout this year, and as the word got out, and I'm pretty confident the candidates themselves, because it was in the contested races where we had more early voting, the candidates were really promoting it, and I think it helped to increase voter turnout and definitely convenience. And the last thing I wanted to mention is that instant runoff voting never came into play in this election. I think there was some confusion about that. So the results that you see reported here are the first choices that were made, because all races were decided upon the first choice of the voter. If any of the candidates had not received a majority, then we would have gone to second and third rounds of counting. We have that information and will post it online, because I think it's informative to know if you're a candidate, if you weren't the first choice of many people, maybe you were the second choice of a lot of people. And I think that's important information that candidates and the public wants to know. We will publish that. We'll also publish the list of write-ins, and we have that. It's just, it wasn't formatted to look nice so that it would fit in with this, and I just didn't bring it down. But we have all that, and we should get that. That'll be posted tomorrow. And also, I'd like to thank, of course, the Board of Elections and the Scantegrity team, who, and for the work they did and the help they did with this election. I think really everything went pretty splendidly, and I think we're finding that more and more voters are doing the confirmation. But I look forward to the council's future discussion about how elections are done and decisions about how they should be done in the future.
Right.
So thank you.
And again, thank both you and Deputy City Clerk Irma Andia for all your hard work. I know that as I've been working with you on various items, including council agenda items over the last few weeks, a lot of your time has been invested in this election and making sure everything ran smoothly, and thank you for all that hard work. I think that has all been taken care of. Thank you, everybody. Congratulations to everybody who participated in the process and all the voters, and a special congratulations to the winners of the election and to some of the new members of our community who will be participating up here in a very short time, and we look forward to seeing all of you again very soon.
You can give the dates.
The last meeting of the old council, first meeting of the new council is 12 days from today. It's November 21st, Monday, November 21st. It'll be, the old council meets, adjourns, the new council gets sworn in, and then there'll be a reception. So we'll see.
Don't forget the speechifying part.
I'll have the gavel in hand.
All right, great.
Good. Thank you all.
You're going to train the new members of the council on how to go on.
We're going to train them on how to not.